So I have plot profiles, and this is how it should look at the end of reading the entire book. Usually these are used with a novel or chapter book, and it just examines the plot of how the book has progressed and how like the plot can really affect the book's meaning. This is very important because students are able to comprehend the story better. So like I was able to comprehend the story a little bit better by plotting out what I thought the highest intensity of the chapter is and like why it was so significant to the plot. And then like if it was a lower sense, like it was just kind of felt like a filler chapter or just like a chapter to help the plot kind of progress more into that higher intensity. So how you would use this strategy is that you would prepare the plot profile actually first. So you would actually make the grid, or you can find one. I didn't find one big enough, so I made it myself. So you would label the x-axis, the intensity side. So up top is a higher intensity, and on the bottom is a lower intensity. And then along the y-axis are your chapters. So we had 38 chapters, and Mercy Suarez has changed gears. So I labeled each box with 2 for, so 1 through 38, 2 per box. You can make it 1 per box, you can make it 3 per box. It just depends on how many chapters you have and how much space you have. So you usually would introduce this after you read the first chapter of the book, because then they have an understanding of how the plot has started, where we've started. So you can have them discuss the chapter in their small groups or with like a partner, or you can do a big group discussion, and then you can plot where you think the first chapter would be. So you can ask your students, oh, how do you think this first chapter really started off? Was it more of a high intense, like where you just grabbed, and do you think it will keep progressing up higher? Or was it kind of just like a, oh, we got background of a character? So questions like that to help them understand if they thought the plot was very of a importance or if it was just kind of, background knowledge. So as you progress through the book, you would keep plotting points depending on your students' answers, and then you would graph it until it's complete, and then you would reflect on your chart. So my chart is all over the place because I'm a very avid reader, so I thought most plot points of the book were just kind of filler chapters or something that wasn't just, it was just in there to be in there. So I think the first one was picture day. So that was kind of a higher intensity because like we introduced Mercy, and then you also had like her taking her group into like the gymnasium through the back way. So it was kind of like, oh, they might get caught, they might not. So it was kind of like of a higher intensity, but not super high as to like chapters 27 and 28 when they have their car accident. And then Mercy finds out about her grandfather's Alzheimer's disease. That really kind of shakes her up and affects her in a personal way. It kind of changes the whole dynamic of the book and how she views her family now, because her family had kept such a big secret from her. And then we kind of slowly fade off to the end because it's the end, so we don't want to leave off on a cliffhanger unless there was a second book coming out or if there was more to the story. So that's my plot profile and how to use it. You definitely want to reflect on it because students might get confused on why they thought the plot was so different. Like, you guys could have had something totally different for your plot. You could have thought, oh, chapters 2 through, I guess, 10 were like very low intensity. Kind of thought somewhere a bit higher, like Lolo falling off his bike and telling Mercy not to tell her family about it. You guys could have thought maybe over here was more higher intensity when she like hits Michael in the face with the baseball, and like he lashes out at Abuela. Could be a little bit higher because it changes her view of her grandpa. And then like we had some filler chapters down here, so like 20 through like 22, which is kind of filler chapters because that's when like Mercy and Michael were working in their social studies groups and working on his costume at her house, and then it kind of goes up and then kind of dies down again and goes up. So like the plot's all over the place, for me at least, but it could be totally different for you guys. So this is, and then when you're done with it, you can hang it up in your classroom, so when you guys are still talking about the book, so then your students can understand, oh yeah, that happened in the plot, this happened in the plot, and it's a good way for them to reflect and comprehend the story a lot better than by talking about it and just moving on quickly, they're able to look back on this and work with it. So yeah, that was a plot profile. I had a lot of fun working on it. And so yeah, you guys should definitely use this strategy in your classroom. It really helped me figure out the plot, and I think it'll help your students a lot too.